say. Always accuse us stand in front of God and said, did you hear what Sam said? That's what he does. He looks for us just for the believers to hear us. That's why we give him information. Right? When we do things, he goes and he stands in front of God, because don't forget he's an angel, right?
So I have a question regarding this. So when we're praying out to God and we're sharing our deepest thoughts with Jesus, is it better to pray in silence then?
No, because that's when you make him run away. He doesn't want to hear it. Let him hear it. Yeah, exactly.
But then he'll be able to like to pray just like in the morning when I pray.
No, you don't have to. But first, the thoughts will go up, you know? And as long as it's not evil thoughts, then it's not happening. If they're righteous thoughts, and you're talking to Jesus Christ, you know, and that's why the first thing you say, our Father who is in heaven, then he knows that you're not talking about it. So you're putting him down, you're stepping on his neck, you're crushing him. We crush his back when we say, hallowed be your name. Because his name is never hallowed, was never hallowed. You see? And that's why you have to say it. Why? Because that's how you fight. That's how you start to fight. And that's why we pray. It's not that God doesn't know what we're going to ask for. God knows what we're going to say. God knows what we're going to... And that is what Jesus did with people as well. And people don't understand the Bible. It's like Jesus let people talk and he let Satan hear. And that's what happened. See? All right, so let's go to Genesis 37. Oh, Genesis again. 37, 26, 28. Genesis ila Brita. Oktawa Kamaya, Khayi, Malikta. Genesis 37.
من يهود الأخوات مودي بيضة أطلق الأخونا وتشاسخ الدمو تيمون وزبنخل الإشمالاية وإيدا ليه هويرية سبب أخونا بصرانيلة ومسيطلن أخواتو وورون ناشي ديناية تاجيرة وجرشلن وموسقلن اليوسف من بيرا وزوبنن اليوسف غا إشمالاية السري زوزة سيما ومويلن اليوسف المصري. واو.
Right. خذنا قال لي بإنجليز قالن بشرى.
Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We'll have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelites, traders. After all, he's our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed to do so. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianites, traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him up out of the Sidrid, and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. And the traders took him to Egypt.
So Joseph's story, we all aware of Joseph's story, right? كلنا يطلق قصة يوسف ليلة خمن ديخاتا هلم بليكتا هلم باسا رابا سباي So when his brothers put him in a well, do we see God's hand everywhere or not?
We do.
We see God's hand on him everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a bigger picture that God is looking at the future, right? Allah bgzaye le modi btabe go datit, go future mobtabe. So do we see God's hand everywhere or what? We see God's hand everywhere. Why? Because first of all, when you throw someone in a well, the first thing has to be water in there, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they were hoping for, that they're going to throw him in the water, but then yet, all what they started hearing is him yelling, you know? Somebody get me out of here, right? So what is one of the brothers, Judah, said? What did he say? He said, you know what? Let's not kill him, let's just sell him, you know? Because why should we have blood of our brothers on our hands? So let's sell him. So anyway, they sold him to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites gave him to the Egyptians. We all know that. We know the story. So this is the idea here. Man's will is to put this man to get rid of him. God's will is to save him and use him for something that's unseen. Okay? Something is about to happen. Something in the future man doesn't know about. It doesn't matter what they want to do. But you remember what they did, right? So they killed a goat, and they put the blood on his shirt, and they took it to his father, to Jacob, and they said, your son was attacked by the wolves. He was killed by the wolves, right? So it was a short plan by man, but a long-term plan by God. Something we only can think for this long, God takes it all the way to heaven. علىها بدل من قصة سورتا من خضانة كريتا بدل خمن ديريخا ورابا رخكا ورابا spy. So what does God do? He turns evil into goodness. That's what God's plan is. Man thinks evil, God thinks goodness. Right? So Barnasha Takhmuna wa Bishta قد فرقوا من خونه just because they were jealous of their brother. That's about it. Because he was 17 years old, he was young, handsome and tall. So they wanted to get rid of him. So because before Fran gets to him, we'll throw him in the well. So man's plan, Barnasha itakhmin, bishta alahay magdara al-tota. Kachulcha bishta itantota. Baya la baya Barnasha. At the end of the rainbow, eaten khamindi, Shabira wajbana. Alahay magdara bishtal tota. At the end of every evil thing, evil done work, anything, at the end there is something good. In every story. Okay? Whether we hear about it or we don't hear about it, but it's a fact. It is true. That's how God works.
There was this pastor that I was watching, and he had this amazing idea where he's like, when we get to heaven, he's like, this is not written, this is just my thoughts, and it's fitting. Where he's like, I think the angels would grab us and be like, hey, I have Polaroid pictures, and here, let me show you. This time where you were here, we saved you from this, and then they'll show us in every single situation how, like, you remember when you were crying here? This is when we were saving you from here, and like
the
that was,
footsteps
like, awesome,
story, you know?
know?
The footsteps story.
Yeah.
You know the footsteps story.
No, wait. What story?
The footsteps. That's the one, yeah, I called
Oh,
it
yes,
the
the
beach.
beach. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Or Miss
They were
Reed.
showing him
Yeah.
everything. But I don't think it's going to be Polaroid because she'll
No,
be more
well, it was
advanced.
not.
Just kidding. Just kidding. So إيمان برناشة تخمن بيشتا على هاي مقدرة الطوطة على تخمونه وخمن دي رابا رخقة يوسف إن خنوات تخمونه وقدو دقيقة. So they were thinking only, they were focused about that minute, how to get rid of him, and that will solve their problem. Do you think that solved their problem? Of course not. No. Why? Because a man is always looking for something to cover his emptiness, to fill in the emptiness that has inside. Hamasha barnasha ijarab khaminditi legawe basura katmali. Always a man tries to fill in something, some emptiness, some spot in him that he always does everything he tries in his power by man's will to do it. And all what that thing is Jesus Christ. Once you find Jesus Christ, then you're filled in. That's it, you're done. You don't have to look for anything else. You don't have to look any further. Why? A rich man wants to have more money. A powerful man wants to have more power. And they will have more of it, and more, and more, and more. But again, they're going to go back and they're going to feel that emptiness inside. Once they find Jesus Christ in their life, then they are filled and fulfilled. So, let's see. Can God change the will of man? We're still looking at Joseph. We go to Genesis 50. After all, God was looking at Genesis 50 while man was in Genesis 37. God was looking at 50 and further, right? Actually, God was looking at Exodus when that was happening, guys. So, modi lewaya lakha. Genesis 50. Yes?
Genesis 50.
Also went and bowed down before his face. And they said, behold, we are your servants. Joseph said to them, do not be afraid. For am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me. But God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save my people, to save many people alive. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And be comforted. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them.
Kindly, huh? Sur bak shamin.
عربي.
Wayat Arabi akum damlat lema sam.
لا because في أوكي بس.
Bag khay bag.
وأتى إخوته أيضا ووقعوا أمامه وقالوا ها نحن عبيدك. فقال لهم يوسف لا تخافوا لأنه هل أنا مكان الله؟ أنتم قصدتم لي شرا أما الله فقصد به خيرا لكي يفعل كما اليوم ليحيا شعبا كثيرا. فالآن لا تخافوا أنا أحولكم وأولادكم. فعزاهم وطيب قلوبهم.
21.
أوكي.
Rabas 5. Surah Qurayra Shamira.
زمل أما زل أب أخنوات كل قاموا مر هي أخنا قاتو رجوات نر اللي يوسف لا زبيتون سبب قامو بدل على هون أختون شولوخن اللي بشتا علىها شولة الطوطة قد آود وأخديو يوما المخوة طايب بجورة وأزية لا زبيتون أنا بترسن اللوخن واليلودوخن ويولي لبة هم زملة لبة زملة لبة دوس
لباك.
بس ما جاء رابس باقريان. خش لقام. So now, we know the story, right? كل اللي يطلق سيد جوزيف. There's nothing new. كل اللي يطلق سيد جوزيف. إيش قال أمر لا يعطي لا؟ رابس. So we all know Joseph's story from the beginning, right? You're not aware of Joseph's story? No. Well, after Joseph is sold to the Egyptian, then he is given to be he's going to be working in the head of the prisoner's camp. Okay, so he is going to be working for Potiphar, and he is in charge of all the prisoners. So then, to make long story short, Joseph is going to be very faithful, and he's going to work very hard in the castle, and he's going to do everything according to his master. Okay, and he's going to know all his business, everything that runs into his house before even the master knows about it. But anyway, always the devil comes in, and the wife of the master, she always wanted to get with Joseph. She always saw that he was growing into a young man, handsome, tall man, and he was a very handsome man. So she always wanted to have sex with him. Okay? So she tried very hard. يعني جروب لا راب ورابا قدم خاوة ورخاتة رابا. It wasn't only one occasion, but even though in the Bible it's telling you one time, but this was going on for years. And then at the end, she pulled him with his shirt, and she said to him, "You have to sleep with me." And this is what he said to her, and this is what's amazing about Joseph here. For a young man to say this. You know, he could have had a great life, earthly life. He could have had both worlds in his hand. He could have had living with his master but cheating with his wife, like it happens every day in our lives, right? So what happened? He said, "How can I?" He said, "How can I what?
Do this to my God.
How can I do this to my God?"
Oh my God.
He didn't say to my master, but he's talking about God. مردخي ماسن أنا أودن بيشتغل عليه. زين أول يوم دي أجوانا بديوس. And that's what's amazing about it. So then that's when she pulls the shirt out of him and then he runs away, and then she started yelling. She said he attacked her. So he ends up in prison. Pit, prison. From the pit to the prison. لا? So Palit Minwell Tazil in prison. So now he goes to prison, and then of course, you know, he tells people their dreams. ويامر خلمانة بيكر وخلمانة مالي شبنة عملتي مشتقة Pharaoh. So now he tells the dreams because he was good at telling dreams. So two guys will have dreams in the prison. One was the baker that baked bread for the Pharaoh, and the other one was the one that gives wine to the Pharaoh. They were both under investigation until their case come out, you know, so they can either release them or kill them. So one of them ends up to be killed, which was the baker. He will tell him, "Your dream tells you that you're gonna die," and the other one said, "No, you're gonna be released and you're gonna go back and you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna give wine to Pharaoh." Okay? But he said to him, "When you go out, don't forget me. Remember me in front of Pharaoh." When does that happen, Jonathan? When does that happen? It happens 2 years later. 2 years later, Pharaoh has a dream, and now the person that's giving him wine, he's listening, and he said, "Well, I know a person in prison that can tell you your dream." And who's that? Joseph. So Marele, أمن يقول لخمرة قرعون إن بشماية لخلمة قرعون Marele يتنخد أنا بيرو بالوط عليه ما يهيله. So that's when he brings him into the picture, and his dream was that 7 skinny cows will come out of the ocean and they will eat the 7 fat cows. Okay? Never let anybody eat me and Bushra. No, baby, no skinny ones. Right. So anyway, so the skinny ones will eat the fat cows. 7, 7. So what does he say? So he said to him, "You're gonna have 7 years of plenty and 7 years of hunger." So the Pharaoh said, "Then what do we do?" He said, "Well, it's going to be hunger everywhere, not only in Egypt. It's going to be hunger all over." He said, "So what do we do?" He said, "Well, then you take a certain percentage of every year and you keep it in a storage of the plenty year that you have, and you keep it. It will be enough for the 7 years that when you have hunger." Shaklit 20% or 30% of what you have from the plenty, and you keep it in the storage. Right?
Yeah.
I know you might go when they have expired, so you can't do that. Nowadays they're canned, so don't do that because they expire. They're canned nowadays. So
The food expired.
you can't put them in the store. So anyway, so Modi Lewaya. So now, so what does Pharaoh do? He takes his ring, which is his government ring that he rules Egypt with, and he puts it on Joseph's finger. He said, "Nobody can do this except you." And Joseph becomes the real Pharaoh, really, because Pharaoh